Each of these guitars is strung with different gauge strings. Now, there are obviously many other differences with the guitars, but I've got a set of 8s on one, a set of 9s on the other, a set of 10s on one of the others. All D'Addario strings. I don't know, let me know in the comments if you think you can tell which has the lightest strings, do that sort of thing. I thought I wanted to talk about this. This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. I had this idea a while ago because basically I've had these guitars strung up with different strings for a while. If any of you have got a good memory, you might be able to remember that I did a video kind of using 8s for the first time, 8-gauge strings, which I kind of had some semi-dismissed kind of Rhett and Rick Beato talking about this just because I thought, well, yeah, why would I want to use 8-gauge strings? And then I kind of, experimented with the feel, and spoke to some people on Instagram, and in particular a paramedic, Pete, talked about when he had kind of some hand issues that he actually went down to gauge 8 strings, and you know, there are kind of medical reasons that you might want to kind of do this sort of thing, and apparently in the piano world they do similar things like slackening strings and that sort of stuff, so that you have less tension on the fingers. Because I guess really although there is more of a tonal element than I was expecting, the main thing is kind of the feel, the effort to play, and also kind of the zinginess of the strings is the word that I would use. So in case, I don't know if you've left your comment yet, kind of guessing which was which, this has the 8s, the gold has the 9s, gold, and the yellow guitar, which I use every day, has my normal kind of 10 gauge strings. I can play more or less the same sort of thing on each of them, but tonally there was what I feel like was that as I went up through the gauges, the kind of openness of the string sound, which starts to close off, it kind of rolls off top end. That was a thing that I wasn't really thinking, because we always talk about sort of heavier gauge strings as having better tone in a lot of ways, so I wasn't necessarily thinking about that as the primary reason for making this video, because obviously there's other variables involved. But I think that was true, right? That the 8s on the Twatcaster kind of had more of a zinginess to them, and then, you know, as you switch over to the yellow, you probably noticed that, or I felt like it kind of had less top end, less clarity. Particularly in the thicker strings. Now, the real difference for me, though, is that I can sort of play this with 8s, and what I'm having to do is actually play way, way lighter, and adjust technique. This also has stainless steel frets, so I guess that could also be a factor for the... But what it means is that I'm essentially just playing lighter, and particularly with the right hand is where I'm finding that. So if you saw like the very, very intro, there's certain things which are kind of right hand dominant I actually find easier to play with heavy strings. So I think that is, the right hand has to be a bit more like a paintbrush with the lighter strings, is what I've noticed. The left hand stuff is less of an issue than I thought. I thought it would kind of, you know, ruin things a bit, but it hasn't. The left hand stuff is okay. Surprisingly, like the Cordy stuff, like actually playing chords, has kind of a bouncier left hand feel to it. The right hand definitely, like, it's easier to over pluck a note and that sort of stuff, or over pick a note. In general, I think this might be a good idea. So here's the thinking, right? That the less tension you have on your hand for health, the better. So what I'm thinking is that I keep these guitars strung like this, and depending on what has been going on in my day or the night before, all that sort of stuff, so like occasionally I might do a bit of gardening, or, you know, you have a heavy night with a bad load in, switching between these strings to kind of, I don't know, sometimes have a bit more of a relaxed day, use it as something that brings out something different in your playing. I think it's a really interesting idea. I don't know, you might disagree, but it's something I'd not really considered particularly. I just have 10s on basically everything. I know some people will use like a different gauge on their Gibson scale length, for instance. The other thing that you might instead, which would get you a similar kind of thing, is just dropping a guitar down half a semitone, which I've also been doing recently as well. And that gets you kind of about the same sort of tension difference, and also sounds really good to play as well. So give that a try. I think, did you get that right? Yeah. Could you tell which with the heavier gauge strings? I don't know. Tonally, I felt like there was a fair difference. The right hand feel is where there's the biggest difference. But more than that, I think it's just interesting to be able to kind of adjust to these different things. I think this is the biggest impact that you can make on a guitar, really, is just changing the string gauge. Like, changing pickups does something. What else could you do? You know, like, in terms of modding a guitar, you know, like, you don't actually change the neck shape particularly. What else do you change? The strings are such a huge part of the feel of a guitar. I feel like this is quite an easy way to change the feel of a guitar for different reasons. I don't know. What else could you do that would take a hacksaw to the thing. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I hope you're having a good weekend. Happy Father's Day. I got to play for Elodie for the first time yesterday. She came to a gig, so that was really nice. And she danced to Uptown Funk. Stay safe.